Namaste everyone. Warm wishes to everyone on Teachers' Day and hearty welcome to the fourth edition of the series of webinars under the name of Pratyaksh conducted by Samvad, the Open Discussion Forum. Our organization Samvad was initiated by the students of Kirorimal College, University of Delhi during this ongoing pandemic period. It's an organization with noble endeavors that aims to impart the true knowledge and principles of Sanatan Dharma and to protect and defend this culture of ours, this rich culture of ours, from distortions and destructions caused by anti-Indic elements. Till date, Samvad has conducted many online events by inviting various renowned speakers and researchers. Till date, we have invited Mr. Pushpendra Kulsresh, senior journalist, Mr. Neeraj Atri, celebrated author, Ms. Nupur Sharma from Op India, Mr. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, who is a senior researcher in defense studies, Mr. Abhas Kumar Maldea, who is also an author and researcher, and Mr. Ashish Dhar, who is the co-founder of Upward and Pragyata Foundation. And our latest session was with Mr. Shantanu Gupta, who is also a celebrated author. Today, our guest speaker for this session is Dr. Omendra Ratnu. You all must have heard about him and his noble endeavors. Uh, Dr. Ratnu, Dr. Ratnu is a practicing ENT surgeon who has been since the past 20 years, and he has also worked tremendously for the welfare and rehabilitation of Hindu and Sikh refugees in the Indian subcontinent, as well as for the upliftment of the Dalit community through his own NGO, that is Nimitkekam. He is avidly active on Twitter, and many of the other renowned speakers like him are also in contact with him on Twitter, and he has contributed richly to various portals on various historical, political, and spiritual aspects. He's also a very famous composer as well as singer, and he has composed two music albums. And we would be listening to one of them in the duration of this course, in the duration of this session. I beg your pardon. And he's a speaker and writer par excellence. I welcome you, sir, to the fourth edition of Pratyaksh, and we will also be conducting a question answer session in the progression of this event. And I am sure that each one of us will be having an array of questions that we would love to ask from you. Thank you, sir.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपके इतने प्यारे शब्दों के लिए. Nothing will give me more pleasure than to answer the questions of young Hindus who are concerned about the survival of our way of life, which is under tremendous stress as of now. The threats have never been so grave, so imminent, but also the response is very heartwarming. Globally, Hindus are waking up. We are ready to fight this onslaught on our ways of life. We will fight back. Youngsters are coming up. A lot needs to be done. A lot has been done. So, in this Devasur Sangram, we play our role. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you, sir. Very wise words. And I also request all the participants to maintain the general decorum during this meeting, and they should avoid interrupting sir while he is addressing us. And I also request Abichal to share the screen and play the video play the link that sir has just sent in the chat box. Abichal, you can go ahead now.
इधर हमारा हकूक, हमारा इज्जत आबरू का पूरे पाकिस्तान को मिलकर साथ देना चाहिए.
का अभिनंदन, प्राणों का बंधन, हृदय का तू स्पंदन, सांसों की वीणा, परम का अभिनंदन, निर्दोष तेरा अस्तित्व रहे, स्थायी तेरा सतीत्व रहे, क्या करूं कैसे करूं तुझे लेके कहीं खो जाऊं, तेरा चल जहां आबाद रहे, वो धरती कहाँ से लाऊं, वो धरती कहाँ से लाऊं, प्राणों का बंधन।
वहाँ ऐसे पानी पीना पड़ता है हमको, नीचे सर झुका के पानी पीना पड़ता है। क्यों? हमारा हक नहीं है वहाँ पे। हम किस लिए काम कर रहे हैं वहाँ? इसलिए हमको कहा जाता है काम वाले। क्यों सर 2 रुपये से हमको देखना चाहते हैं वहाँ लोग? किस वजह से देखना चाहते हैं? क्योंकि हम हिंदू हैं।
जो जन्नत की ख्वाहिश दरिंदों ने पाली, तो क्यों उसकी कीमत भरे मेरी लाली।
मेरी बेटी महक के सोनी कराची से अगवा हुई है, यहाँ कराची से डिफेंस के इलाके से।
ख्वाहिश दरिंदों ने पाली, तो क्यों उसकी कीमत भरे मेरी लाली। क्या था उसमें दोष, क्या उसका कसूर, क्यों लेकर गए हो उसे घर से दूर। इस बेबसी के भार तले क्या जिंदा दफन हो जाऊं, चल जहां आबाद रहे, वो धरती कहाँ से लाऊं, वो धरती कहाँ से लाऊं, प्राणों का बंधन। कहाँ के नवराते, कहाँ की दिवाली।
अगर काफिरों से ताल्लुक जरूरी भी है ना, तो बस इतना ही है जैसे लैट्रीन के अंदर जाना मजबूरी है।
वहशत की वेदी पे रंजिश है पाली, कहाँ के नवराते, कहाँ की दिवाली। वहशत की वेदी पे रंजिश है पाली, मौत है छुटकारा यहाँ, हर जुल्म हुआ है गवारा यहाँ। जुल्मों पे खड़े इस आलम के उस पार कैसे जाऊं, तेरा आंचल जहां आबाद रहे, वो धरती कहाँ से लाऊं, वो धरती कहाँ से लाऊं, प्राणों का बंधन।
अगर आप इस्लाम को कबूल नहीं करोगे तो आपके पापा और आपके भाई को दोनों को गोली मार दूंगा।
जबरदस्ती इस्लाम भी कबूल कर दिया।
क्या हुआ उन वादों का, सद्गुरुओं का, अवतारों का। तूने तो हमको वचन दिया था धर्म और सत्य निभाने का। आ देख लुटे बैठे हैं हम, हर सांस सांस घुटे हैं हम।
जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ रिलीजियन उनको वहाँ से खदेड़ा जाता है, उनका जीना दुष्कर किया जाता है। जो पॉपुलेशन विभाजन के समय 35% थी, जो पॉपुलेशन आज 7% हो गई, उनके लिए तो जगह बची नहीं है। तो वो अगर हिंदुस्तान में आते हैं, जो भारत माँ की जय बोलते हैं।
मान्यवर, हमने कहा था पड़ोसी देशों के प्रताड़ित धार्मिक अल्पसंख्यकों के संरक्षण के लिए सिटीजनशिप अमेंडमेंट बिल, जिसको सीएबी के पॉपुलर नाम से जाना जाता है, हम इसको लागू करने के लिए प्रतिबद्ध है।
कर शंखनाद इस वेदना के पार निकल जाऊं। अब हाथ बढ़ा इस दावानल से, मैं भी तो मुक्ति पाऊं, मैं भी तो मुक्ति पाऊं। प्राणों का बंधन हृदय का तू स्पंदन, सांसों की वीणा।
I think we all have got emotional after seeing this video, and I saw Sir crying.
I am a father of a girl and a boy, and I don't know what I would do if somebody was to harm my daughter. And these Hindus and Sardars in Pakistan don't have that choice to protect their children. What kind of world do we live in? What civilization? What justice? What laws? What civility? A society which violates its daughters should be bombed out of existence. I mean, what's the point? What's the point of human existence if we cannot protect our women? If women of a society are vulnerable to the male impulse of violence and sexual dominance, I see no point in that society being allowed to continue. This is exactly what happened during Mahabharata, when Draupadi was attempted to be disrobed. She was not disrobed, attempted to be disrobed. It was Sri Krishna who vowed, who looked into the eyes of Pitama Bhishma and Guru Drona and Kripacharya and Vidur and said, "You all deserve to die. Something so wrong happened in front of your eyes and you were just watching it, tied to your kartavya, your loyalty to the throne of Hastinapur. To hell with her loyalty. And he ensured it that mankind was exterminated. Something that radical must be done, because देखिए जिसकी बच्ची उठी है ना, उसको पता है कि दर्द होता है. आप लोग सब यंगस्टर्स हो, अभी आप शादियां करोगे, बच्चे पैदा करोगे, ये बंधन कितना गहरा होता है. प्राणों का बंधन जो होता है ना, प्राणिक. The only way I can probably give you a flavor of this bond is think about your brother or your sister. That is a younger brother or a younger sister. That connection is pranic. So multiply it with 1000. That pranic connection is with your child, and multiply it with 1,000,000. That is the pranic connection of a father with a daughter. That is the sacred and the intense love story of a father and a daughter, which is being violated. 3 Hindu Sikh girls are picked every single day in Pakistan. And Pakistan was Bharat only 70 years ago. So, jokers who come and say that Pakistan is another nation have no sense of history, have no sense of civilization, have no sense of continuity of mankind's saga of survival. We have so many enemies, human beings. We have diseases, we have nature against us, we have aging, we have parting, we have psychological disorders. There are so many diseases about which we don't know. Billions of dollars research should be done to find treatments for those diseases, oceanographic research, space research. Instead, what we are fighting on, what is our money being spent on? Whether a 7th century person's idea of God is okay or not. Whether his social rules are applicable in modern times or not. I don't know. I don't know what's the future of such a intellectually depleted discourse. So, be that as it may, we have to fight it, because I just now finished a book on Maharanas of Mewar. Um, Even at my age of 52, when I was so much interested in everything and I thought I knew everything, it was a revelation to me that we have completely obliterated the glorious resistance to Islam by these beautiful Atmas. I don't use the word soul. Soul is an Abrahamic construct. The Atmas. Maharana Pratap is just one example. There is a whole line from Bappa Rawal to Raj Singh, 1,000 years of continuous struggle. But that is a topic for another day. The falsification of Hindu resistance against Islam. What they could not achieve by sword, they tried to subvert it by purchasing the loyalties of Indian historians and Indian academicians. White lies have been created around us, that we were slaves for 1,000 years, that there was a Delhi Sultanate, that there was a Mughal Empire. All white lies I have tried to counter in my book. And that's one part of the story. So, as far as Pakistani Hindus are concerned, let's come back to the original topic, because, as I said, there is an emotional, there is a humanitarian aspect to this, and there is a technical aspect to this, that why Pakistani Hindus must be saved, because a lot of Hindus do not understand the emotional, the psychological, the humanitarian aspect of this. So for them, I went down this book. I tried to rationalize it. I tried to give it a logic-based approach, that why do the Hindus and Sardars of Pakistan need to be saved by Indian Hindus or global Hindus for that matter. So let's get on with the presentation. I'll try to wind it up in 12 to 15 minutes because I don't like to speak for long. I rather take questions so that I can delve into the mind of the younger people and give some insights. Can we
Sure,
have the
sir.
presentation?
Avichan, yeah,
So
he's ready with the
the
presentation.
biggest tragedy is that close to 1 crore Hindus have been either killed, converted, or forced to flee Pakistan, and nobody talks about it. There are no UNHCR reports, there is no Human Rights Commission report. Only the BJP picked it up as late as 2014 in the election manifesto. And that too, I am personally aware, was the push by Sri Narendra Modi. He took the initiative to include this issue in the manifesto of the BJP in 2014 elections. And it was after that that I had the courage to start our own organization, Nimitte Ekam. Nimitte Ekam means to be the instrument of the divine. We are not the doers, we are mere nimitta of Sri Krishna. What he says in Gita to Arjun, Nimitta matram bhavasavyasachin. He says to Arjun, I already killed these people. They don't deserve to live. Now you fire the arrow and finish the job. Next slide, please. So, what are the demographics? They were approximately 15%. Can we have the next slide? 15% Hindus at the time of partition in 1947. And today, in 2016, the census was done, and the population of Hindu has come down to close to 2.5% in Pakistan. There were 35% Hindus in Bangladesh, which has come down to 7% now in Bangladesh. And yet, in sheer numbers, this number is close to 1 crore in Pakistan and 1.75 crores in Bangladesh. That's a huge number of Hindus. So, a lot of times when I see right wing Hindus fretting and bothering about the population inversion, the demographic inversion, I just tell them, if you bring these close to 3 crore Hindus into Bharat, you have a ready-made replacement of Hindus, which you will lose in the next 10 years and they will become your enemies. As Swami Vivekananda said, that any Hindu converted out of Hinduism is not only a one Hindu less, but one enemy more. And that is what is going to happen to these Hindus. And that is why in December 2019, the passing of the CAA by the Indian legislature was a path-breaking development which the Hindu community and the Sikh community of this country didn't understand. They were absolutely apathetic to what was being done. They thought that it should not be passed and Muslims of Pakistan should be included, which is as idiotic and as scandalous as anything can be. अरे भाई, अगर इनको पाकिस्तान से मुसलमानों को बुलाना था तो फिर पार्टीशन क्यों किया था? What was the premise of partition? It was that Hindus and Muslims cannot coexist, and this was the Islamic demand. So now they want to come back under the garb of CAA. Sorry, ain't happening. But our own people, our own Hindus and Sardars joined the bandwagon of Shaheen Bagh. They were serving biryanis to these people. Anyway, so I've told you about the demographic inversion. The life of an ordinary Hindu and Sikh in Pakistan is nothing short of a hell. They have no economic security. As late as 2016, marriages were not recognized in Pakistan. Hindu marriages were not recognized. That meant that any Hindu woman, married or not, could be picked up by a jihadi and taken into his harem because she was not a legally wedded wife, which after a lot of agitation, the Sindh Assembly passed the law in 2016, and now a married Hindu woman cannot be taken as per the laws of Pakistan. Next slide. Can you give a bigger screen to this? I can't see the slides. So, what is the scale of the genocide? 2019 May, the European Union Parliament gave a neutral, independent report that 3 Hindu Sikh girls are picked every single day. 1,000 girls of minorities picked every year. That comes down to 3 Hindu Sikh girls being picked up every single day. And these are the cases that are reported, on which the FIRs are lodged. A lot of Hindus of Pakistan are living in the interior Sindh area, where they have no access to the local law implementing agencies. Not that these law agencies help them, but for the matter of record also, they have nothing, no access. They are like cattle for these jihadis. They get raped, mutilated, killed, murdered. All sorts of sexual perversions are carried out on them. Sometimes some beautiful Hindu girls are transported to the Arab sheikhs who molest them, use them, sodomize them. And when they have used those girls to their heart's content, they feed them to the sharks. This is happening in the 21st century, right under our noses. While we go out for our theme parties, Bollywood movies, cricket sattas, foreign vacations. हमें एयर कंडीशनर चाहिए सोने के लिए, 4-व्हीलर चाहिए अपने बाप के पैसे का, और यहाँ पर ये हो रहा है। 3 हिंदू बच्चियां उनके घरों से जबरन उठाई जाती हैं, पूरा का पूरा गांव उनका बलात्कार करता है, चील कौवों को उनका मांस खिला दिया जाता है, just because they were born into a dharma, into a religion which was not Islam. I can't see the slide.
I think there's a technical glitch on that.
Okay, no, I can see now. I've magnified.
Okay.
So, a murder of minority leaders is a common thing. The constant threat of conversion. Since May 2020, the borders are closed because of the COVID crisis and the hostilities between India and Pakistan. And very sadly, I have to report that 5,000 Hindu families, approximately 25 Hindus in Pakistan, have converted to Islam in the past 1.5 years. That is the official record that we have. We fear close to 10,000 have already converted. Hindu hatred is taught in the school. If you look at the curriculum that they follow in their schools, they are taught that Hindus are dirty, they are manipulative, they have caste system, the Baniya is exploitative, the Brahmin is a wretched thief, Rajputs are all brutes. So, in broad daylight, they are teaching this to the children. Imagine us teaching this to our children in our schools about the truth of Islam, kind of hullabaloo that will be raised. But because Hindu community has no sharpness in the leadership, we are a dull-headed community. We are led by sheep against a pack of wolves. That's why all this nonsense goes on, and we don't resist this daylight robbery happening on our children and our resources. Next slide, please. The rich Hindus there, it is a large population of rich Hindus in Pakistan. Approximately 1 million Hindus, 10 lakh Hindus in Pakistan are rich. They are traders of rice and dal, even. So, can I have the next slide, please? So, all this is going on unabated in this 21st century. But the rich Hindus have another kind of issues. They are picked up by the warlords like Mia Mittu and Peer Jan Sarhandi and all these criminals who are in cahoots with the Pakistani army. So why should we save them? Why should we save Pakistani Hindus? As I said, 3 crore Hindus coming out of Pakistan and Bangladesh gives us a respite to our falling demographics. Hindus have been reduced from 88% at the time of partition now to 78%. It is a test case. The saving of Pakistani Hindus is a test case of the global Hindu and Christian leadership that can call the bluff of the state of Pakistan and the jihadis. I mean, a state cannot shrug its shoulders, say, look, we are helpless. If jihadis are doing it, Hindus are being wiped out, we can't do anything about it. Well, then the international community will do something about it, because this cannot be allowed to go on. By the stroke of this one move to save Hindus of Pakistan, 80% of Hindus in Pakistan are our Dalit Sahodaras. They are our brothers. Meghwal, Bhil, Koli, Balai, they're SC/STs. Let us tell this to our own Dalit Sahodaras in this country who are fighting Brahmanical patriarchy, whatever it means, that who is torturing, murdering, eliminating their daughters in Pakistan? It is the meme, the meme of the meme Bhim Ekta. It is the Islamists who are exterminating our Dalit Sahodaras in Pakistan. This nexus needs to be exposed. The 40,000 Sikh community of Pakistan is being crushed by the jihadis, and to the Khalistani idiots and thugs, we must expose this truth also. Last year, the chief Granthi of Nankana Sahib, which is the sacred shrine for all of us, because Guru Nanak Ji was cremated there, was attacked, and the daughter of the chief Granthi, Mohan Singh, Jagjit Kaur, was converted to Aisha in full world view. You can see the YouTube videos. It is there. It is all there, with the audacity and the shamelessness with which this is being carried out. We can also give an economic blow to this already crumbling economy of Pakistan if we take these Sikhs and Hindus out of Pakistan. As I said, 1 million Hindus are doing business in Pakistan, are extremely rich. They have lands, huge lands, because the Jagirdari system of Pakistan was never abolished. In India, the Jagirdari was over the day India got independent. The Pakistan, even Hindu Jagirdars have thousands of acres of land. And if we take these Jagirdars, the business community, our Dalit Sahodaras, then the Pakistan state will simply crumble. It's a paradox that such a persecuted community is actually supporting the economy of that country. And if we take these Hindus out of that equation, we deal a death blow to the economy of Pakistan. So the free world is at test here. Next slide. Free world is a test here, that can we fight this the devil of jihad right under our noses. I want all the attention you guys can muster when the next idea that I'm sharing with you. This is an original thought by me and my think tank, and we thought about it, that how was it? There has to be a logical reason that people are insensitive to this genocide of Hindus. And then we came up with an acronym: random, unceasing, low-level, scattered violence. This is the most dangerous weapon of jihad, because I'll explain every word to you, every letter to you. Random, there is no way you can predict this. How many of you are aware of the latest jihadi attack in New Zealand? I'm waiting for an answer. How many of you know?
Yes, sir.
LTT is a Hindu Christian organization persecuted or confronted by the Buddhist Sinhalese. Muslims have no locus standi in this conflict. But the idiotic kafirs are not paying attention to the global problem of Islamists. And they're allowing these thugs to enter into the system. And the result, I call it sudden jihad. Maybe his wife put a lot of salt in his khichdi that day. Maybe he suffered a loss in business that day. But those 6 innocent people, 6 lives were destroyed by this barbarian, because he had a grudge. So there is no way you can predict the jihadi violence. It is random, unceasing. Can anybody tell me when was the first Islamic attack on Bharat? The first Islamic attack on Bharat historically, and by whom?
In Sindh, Abu
Very good.
Bakr, maybe in
No, no.
700, in the
Abu Bakr.
8th
Abu
century.
Bakr was a Khalifa.
Mir Qasim, sir.
Sorry.
Muhammad bin Qasim. Very good. Very good. You're close. Muhammad bin Qasim attacked Raja Dahir in the 8th century, beheaded him after a brilliant resistance by Dahir, in which Dahir defeated him initially. But the second time, when he came after 2-3 months, he allied with the Buddhists who had a grudge against Dahir. And in the war of Asur, there's a place called Asur. The war went on for 8 days. Ultimately, Dahir was beheaded. Since that day to today, the jihadi violence has not stopped. Ghazni, Gauri, Lodi, Sayyad, Tughlaq, Khilji, Gulams, Mughals, Afghans, Tatar, Uzbek, Kazakhs, Iranians, Turks, they just keep attacking us. They will not cease till they're the last Hindu left on this globe. It is an unceasing attack on our civilization. And if you guys happen to lay hands on my book on Mewar Maharanas, you will realize how great these Deva Purushas were. Nothing in their hand, no means, hopelessly outnumbered. They stood ground. They stood ground to this bunch of robbers and rapists and murderers. So it's random because it cannot be predicted. It is unceasing because it is not going to stop till the last kafir is alive on this globe. And the most dangerous aspect of this, the low level. There is a violence which is very obvious. If you see somebody stabbed and you see all the blood splutting out, the organs, the liver, the intestine, it's a ghastly, ghostly sight, and it will never leave your psyche, right? You have it registered in your brain, your sensibilities will be shocked. But if somebody throws into a Brahmin house a packet full of bones of cow, or he suddenly puts his hands into the clothes of a teenager girl, or if he just winks his eye every day to a lady who goes out of the house to buy vegetables, or he murders a grade C or a grade B Hindu leader, nobody pays attention. It's not sensational enough to shock your sensibilities. Everybody sees what 9/11 did. It's another matter that Kafirs are such idiots that after 9/11, instead of erecting walls around us, we simply capitulated. That means violence pays, violence works. But low-level violence, I will articulate it in Hindi and English so that you guys perfectly understand this. काफिर के साथ इतनी हिंसा करते रहो कि वो कभी चैन से ना बैठे, पर इतनी हिंसा भी मत करो कि काफिर इकट्ठा होकर जवाब देने पर आ जाए. Keep the level of violence high enough that kafirs are keep cowering, afraid in a corner. Never raise the level of a violence to a level where kafirs get united and evoke a response. I did a research. I hired a journalist. I paid him and made him sit down and find out the number of Hindus killed after May 16, 2014, when Modi ji became the Prime Minister to date. 250 Hindus have been killed by jihadis in lynching in India. I'm not talking about Pakistan. I have the FIR copies, I have the news links, I have the names of the killers, I have the names of the Hindus murdered. These are all RSS, Vishwa Hindu Parishad, Ram Sene, Hindu Munnani, all Hindu organization workers. What is the narrative? India is a lynching republic for Muslims because 5 Muslims were killed by Hindu mobs. Any murder, I'm not advocating any violence, is to be condoned. I never supported this cow related violence. I never related to it. But what about those 250 Hindus? Nobody even talks about them. So that is the low level violence that I'm referring to. However, I throw a question to you if you have understood what I have talked about random, unceasing, low level scattered violence till now. When was the low level violence pattern broken in Bharat? Can anybody tell me? Prabhas Shakya, sir, where can we get this instrument? I have the document. Send me your email. I'll share the email with you. I'll share the document with you. So, when was the low level violence pattern broken? Come on, guys. You're not paying attention. 2611. 2611 was the violence by them, right? It was not a low level violence. Yes, you're right in a way. That this was not low level. This was a stark violence. But when did Kafirs respond? When was the low level violence pattern broken? It was in 2002. 1992 was okay, but 2002, when 60 car sevaks were brutally burnt alive by jihadis, the entire state of Gujarat rose against it. That is what I'm trying to tell you. They will not raise the level of violence where kafirs get united and evoke a response. That is the most dangerous aspect. Hindus are dying. We are being killed every day, but with everything stays under the radar. They will come on the TVs with their ugly beards and smallpox ridden, dirty, black, wretched, foul smelling faces and come and tell you that Islam is a religion of peace. While a grade B, a grade C Hindu has already been murdered. When the Love Jihad ordinance was being brought about, I went hoarse telling to Hindus that, guys, please get some documents. Please document this data. Come to the market with data. How many girls have been picked up in Love Jihad? For example, I have this data to back the random, unceasing, low-level scattered violence pattern. Scattered means geographically, there is no domain for jihad. One day it can happen in San Bernardino. The other day it can happen in Jaipur. Some day it can happen in Delhi. Some day it will happen in Chicago. Wherever there is a jihadi, there is a chance of rules, random, unceasing, low-level, scattered violence. And this is the reason, because 3 Hindu girls are being picked every day. Nobody is noticing the stark violence and the genocide that is happening. This is the reason. This is a blind spot in the global jihad for the world community. So the civilized global leadership is confused because the jihadi comes to you like a multi-headed hydra. One head says, "Oh, I'm a Sufi. So for me, God is love." And people say, "Oh, okay. They are singers, they're singers." And what happened in Afghanistan? The first chance they got, they banned music. This is happening in 2021, right in front of our eyes. Whom are we fooling but ourselves? This is an improved version of Taliban, right? Good luck to guys who think that they have improved. They are beheading human beings. They have banned music. So extrication of these 1 crore Hindus out of Pakistan is our only option. a lot of Hindu leaders were of the opinion. I used to go to the West, or even in India, in Bengaluru, in Cochin, in Bombay, in Chennai. I would be giving a lecture to a hall full of 300 people, and suddenly one idiot would get up and say, "We believe that Hindus living anywhere should be made powerful there." I said, "Sir, I really wish you were born in Pakistan, and you would understand what empowering you in a jihadi society means. I wish you were born there before making such an insensitive, such an idiotic remark." So, fortunately, the Hindu leadership listened to us, and that is the reason CAA was brought in, because they understood that without taking them out of Pakistan, there is no hope for these Hindus, Sardars, Buddhists, Jains, Parsis in Pakistan. There is no coexistence with jihad. You cannot coexist with somebody who thinks that raping your sister will take him to heaven. If you think that you can coexist, good luck to you. You should also be deported to Pakistan or Afghanistan. Go and live with them. You love jihad, you love coexistence, then pay the price. I always tell this to liberals. I will respect your liberalism when you go and live in a Muslim ghetto. You live surrounded 5 kilometers of periphery by Hindus, and you preach liberalism. That is intellectual dishonesty and moral bankruptcy of the worst kinds. Because for your liberalism, a 10-year-old Hindu child in Sindh is paying the price. Because you are not calling the bluff of this vile and hideous philosophy, while you yourself live protected because of Hindus. If you had the intellectual honesty, you were a true liberal, Tavleen Singh is a true liberal, then she should go and live in Balli Mara, Chandni Chowk, Delhi. I will respect her on that day. Before that, it's all lies, it's all ego of convenience, it is all throwing your daughters to these butchers. Next slide. The good news is that, as I said in the beginning of my talk, I've gone long because I got carried away. I'll wind it up. So the BJP has put it in the manifesto. CA has arrived. Till date, Nimit Tekam has managed to get 3,500 citizenships, and all over country we have managed more than 10,000 citizenship for these unfortunate Hindus and Sardars of Pakistan. That's the good news. Now this issue has been mainstreamed. The evidence is that youngsters like you all beautiful young kids are listening to me for the last 1 hour, suffering me, and you are interested in this issue. That's a very welcome change. So this issue has been mainstreamed. These are all positive developments. Next slide. Nimit Tekam is the NGO which is working for it. We have 5 offices now in Jodhpur, Jaipur, Karnavati, which you guys know more as Ahmedabad. We have another in Jaisalmer and one in Delhi. So this slide needs to be updated now. We have done more than 3,500 citizenship. 10,000 Hindus have been taken out of Pakistan by Nimit Tekam. Free medical camps and free education, seminars, workshops. This is all we are doing. Next slide. Jihadis are at our doors, more so with what is happening in Afghanistan. Did we even anticipate the capitulation of the so-called the mightiest empire, the mightiest state on the world, and such mayhem ensuing in full worldview in 21st century? So, my dear kids, my dear fellow Hindus, you like it or not, there is a simple aphorism I use. You may not be interested in Islam, but Islam is very interested in you. You may not be interested in Corona, but Corona is very interested in you, because Corona survives only as a human if it gets a human host. So we do all these masks and vaccination and all that, turning a blind eye. Look, I have not been infected with Corona, so I'm quite safe. You will be infected by Corona if you do not raise the safety precautions. You will be hit by jihad sooner or later. So why not take the precautions right now? Thank you for enduring me and listening to me so patiently. I apologize for going on a long track. I should have restricted in my time. I usually am, but I today got carried away. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. I think that was a very good example to substantiate this great issue and convey to those people who believe that secularism is the only way to survive in this world and just go through that way.
Secularism, Vinayak, is the way. I am telling you, I am a true secular. I don't believe in Hindu supremacy or as an individual. I'm a true blue blood secular. But I'm not going to give my daughter for secularism. If somebody comes in the garb of secularism and picks my daughter, I'm going to behead him. I don't care what they do to me after that. As a man, it's my duty to protect my children. If and then for that matter, if any of these girls listening to me, I was traveling with them in a bus or a train and an airport, and somebody was to even look at them like an evil, or I would gouge out his eyes. I see that, maybe I'm sounding too melodramatic, but as a man, what is the worth of a man? See, look at the life of Maharanas. What they protected their people, right? They said, I will face the first arrow. We will face the arrow because in times of peace, the citizens give us tax. We booze around, we eat the best foods, we are enjoying the perks of power. Now, when the country is under attack, we face the first bullet. That's what makes us a man. So, a man who's unable to protect his women, his mother, his nation, his dharma, doesn't deserve to live. And that's why secularism is a two-way street. It cannot be a one-way street. As long as it is a two-way street, I respect it. I'm a secular guy. The moment it becomes a one-way street, I'm sorry. Thank you very much.
Very well said, sir. Thank you, sir. And we also have Professor Satyendra Shukla, who's from the Ranjas College. He's from the Hindi department, and he's amongst us. And we would love to call upon Professor Satyendra Shukla to just speak some lines to say something regarding this topic today. Satyendra, sir. I think there is some technical glitches at Satyendra sir's end, so we would be connecting with him in a few minutes' time. Till that, we can begin with the question answer session, I believe.
Good evening, sir.
Namaste.
Sir, I have a question that regarding the present situation, that many people don't see this problem as religious. Many Hindus living in our country. So how can we explain this to them that it is an existential crisis for us if we don't wake up now?
You can't awaken a person who is already awake, right? Because he's feigning his sleep. जो जो सोया है उसे जगाया जा सकता है, जो सोने का नाटक करके पड़ा है वो उसका चुनाव है. He has chosen to fake his sleep. So because of the leftist education, the onslaught of the falsehoods of the media, which I call as the Panch Makkars, the mullah, the missionary, Macaulay Putras, media, and Marxists. The entire narrative of this country has been taken away, and the average Hindu doesn't even know what he's up for. So they come up with all these rationalizations. No, this is not religious. Okay, then what? This is sectarian. This is caste, or like who's killing whom? Was this nation not partitioned on the basis of religion? Did not Baba Sahib Ambedkar say that there should be total exchange of populations? And what exchange of population was he talking about? That all Hindus should be brought into Bharat and all Muslims should be sent to Pakistan at the time of partition. So instead of, um, trying to convince these jokers, place facts. Whatever has worked with me is that number one, I'll send you a to-do list, and a standard SOP for a young Hindu, how to interact. I'll share it with you. You can on the WhatsApp. There are over 10, 12 points I've thought about, but what is relevant here is never get agitated. Always talk with facts. Never be wrong on your data. If you don't know anything, just say that I don't know. For example, somebody tells me that talks about Bangladeshi Hindus, I just immediately raise my hand and I say, I don't know anything about Bangladeshi Hindus. I just know their numbers. But what are their issues? What is the caste configuration? How bad is their suffering? I have no idea of that. And how the whole thing of CA is going to impact them. How empowered are Hindus in Bangladesh? I have no first-hand information. I know only as much as is written on the net, which I don't trust anyway. But Pakistani Hindus, I know like back of my hand. So don't get caught in the web of deception of your own creation. Be very thorough with your facts. Be very patient. Don't get angry. Don't get agitated. But there is as much that you can do. I started working on this 10 years ago. And I can tell you a lot has been achieved. We have no option except educating fellow Hindus. We'll reach out to 10. One will understand, but that one is worth it. So I suggest patience, perseverance, and thoroughness with your data. That is critical. You cannot be wrong in your statistics and data. I hope that should solve a bit of a dilemma. But I will share that SOP thing with you so that you can circulate it to all the boys and young Hindus listening to me.
Sure, sir.
Sarvesh has raised hands.
Namaste, sir. Am I audible?
Yeah, you are.
Actually, don't you think that we have to break this trend कि बच्चा बड़ा ही होता है हिंदुइज्म को भला बुरा बोलने के साथ, मतलब एक एटमॉस्फेयर में ही रहता है कि अगर वो हिंदुइज्म को भला बुरा बोल रहा है देन वो कूल बन जाता है. एग्जिस्टिंग गवर्नमेंट को वो भला बुरा बोलता है तो वो कूल गाय बन जाता है. और द गाइज लाइक अस कि जो कि अपने कल्चर रिलीजन्स को फॉलो करता है, जो कि उसकी आगे एडवर्टाइजमेंट करता है, एक तरीके से बताता है कि भाई यू नीड टू फॉलो दिस, इट इज वेरी बेनिफिशियल फॉर आवर हेल्थ और आवर लाइफस्टाइल. सो आपको नहीं लगता कि ये ट्रेंड को हमें बदलना चाहिए? और ये ऐसे चेंज कैसे आएगी? क्योंकि जो यंग पर्सनैलिटीज हैं, जो यंग जनरेशन है हमारी, क्योंकि अभी इस सेशन में ही देख लीजिए, अगर कोई यहाँ पे स्टैंड अप कॉमेडियन आए होते जो कि थोड़े से लेफ्टिस्ट आइडियोलॉजी के होते तो अभी पूरा बहुत ज़्यादा ही भीड़ रहती. बट आज ऐसा नहीं है. तो आपको कैसा लगता है कि चेंज कैसे ला सकते हैं?
एक अपना माइक म्यूट कर दें. चेंज एक बार मैंने एक बहुत प्रबुद्ध व्यक्ति से पूछा था यही प्रश्न जो आपने मुझसे पूछा है. मैं उस वक्त थोड़ा युवा हुआ करता था, 35 साल का था. बड़ा सुंदर उन्होंने मुझे उत्तर दिया जो मैं आपके साथ साझा कर लेता हूँ. मैंने उनसे पूछा, हाउ डू वी सेव द सनातन धर्म? एंड हिज आंसर वाज, बी द सनातन धर्म. हमसे बड़ा कौन सनातन धर्म को ढोने वाला हो सकता है? आपका कॉन्डक्ट, आपका व्यवहार सबसे बड़ा एडवर्टाइजमेंट है आपके धर्म का. आप धीर चित्त, स्थिर मना, वाणी की शुद्धता, वाणी के ऊपर कंट्रोल, विचारों का मैच्योरिटी, परिपक्वता, आप यदि उस कंट्रोल के साथ अपने विचार प्रेजेंट करेंगे, दुनिया सुनेगी. आप भावुक हो गए, रोना धोना मचा दिया कि आप सब लोग चले जाइए, मेरा विचार है, क्योंकि वो जो जो हिंदू धर्म है वो मैं मानता हूँ, संकट आ गया। नोबडी लाइक सरमन्स। आप स्वयं उस धर्म को, उसके वाहक हैं आप, राइट? सो यू वांट टू सेव द सनातन धर्म, बी द सनातन धर्म। एंड इन योर कॉन्टेक्स्ट, बीइंग द सनातन धर्म का मतलब है, जो मैं बात वो रिपीट करने से मतलब नहीं है, ट्रूथफुल होना, अनएग्रेसिव होना, थरो विथ फैक्ट्स होना, एंड येट फर्मनेस ऑफ फिडेलिटी, अपने धर्म के प्रति पूर्ण निष्ठा। आपको ऐतिहासिक रूप से जब जब आप ये पुस्तक पढ़ेंगे, खून के आंसू आएंगे आपके कि हम किन महापुरुषों की संतानें हैं, हम क्या विलक्षण लोग थे। तो वो सत्य हमें प्रचारित करना है, और सत्य जब प्रसारित करें तो भावुक ना हो, एजिटेटेड नहीं हो, जिसको भगवान कृष्ण गीता में कहते हैं अनुद्विग्न मन। हे अर्जुन, वो तो उनको उनके दादा, गुरु, ब्रदर सबको मारने के लिए कह रहे हैं। टांगे कटेंगी, किसी का लिवर फटेगा, किसी की आंख में तीर लगेगा, कितना विभत्स हिंसा का दृश्य होगा, उसमें कह रहे हैं अनुद्विग्न मना, अनएक्साइटेबल माइंड, कूल्ली काम कर। तो हम अनुद्विग्न चित्त के साथ सनातन धर्म की सेवा करें तो कदाचित हम we become the change that we are looking at। बहुत कुछ हुआ है सर्वेश, और बहुत कुछ होगा आने वाले वर्षों में। बिल्कुल भी निराश ना हो। सत्य की, आपकी सत्य की जो प्रतिभिज्ञा है, आपका जो प्रतिपादन है सत्य का, वो आपका है, और वो चूंकि आपके लिए सत्य है, आप उसके साथ खड़े रहें। लेकिन सत्य के लिए आग्रह नहीं हो सकता भैया, ये मूर्खता गांधी ही कर सकता था कि सत्य के लिए आग्रह करेंगे जी। सत्य का केवल अनुभव किया जा सकता है, सत्य को बहुत विनम्रता से रखा जा सकता है। यही तो है सनातन धर्म, कि हम उसका विवेक जगाते हैं। लास्ट बात बता दूं, देखो, इन भगवत गीता, ये बात मेरी एक अलग 5-7 मिनट का वीडियो है, मेरे यूट्यूब चैनल पे जाके देखना, ह्यूमिलिटी इन गीता। लेकिन एक लाइन में बता देता हूं, पता है मोस्ट ऑफ द योगिक ट्रुथ्स कृष्ण जब बोलते हैं, वो क्या कहते हैं एंड में श्लोक के? इदम में मतम, ऐसा मेरा मत है, ऐसी मेरी ओपिनियन है। 16 कलाओं से पूर्ण योगेश्वर भगवान कृष्ण कह रहे हैं, ऐसी मेरी ओपिनियन है, तेरे जचे तो मान वरना मत मान। वो इदम में आदेशम नहीं कहते हैं। अगर हम इस बात के फ्लेवर को, टेक्सचर को समझ पाए, योगेश्वर भगवान कृष्ण अपने मित्र अर्जुन को कहते हैं इदम में मतम, ऐसा मेरा मत है, दिस इज माई सजेशन, दिस इज माई ओपिनियन, तुझे लेनी है तो ले, नहीं तो मत ले। उस दिन हम सम्यक रूप से शायद सनातन धर्म के सच्चे वाहक बन पाएंगे।
थैंक यू सो मच सर।
Sir, I had a question. I had posted this in the chat box. We are facing I will read it out for you. We are facing similar problems in India as well. Should Hindus protest about that to put pressure on the government to look after us? So
absolutely. If 250 Hindus have been murdered, that truth should be broadcast from every news channel. But the Panchmakars have taken over the entire system. They will simply not read it out. I gave the data to Pushpendra Kulshesh, he read it out. I gave the data to Neeraj Atri, he read it out. I gave the data to Sri Sanjay Dikshit ji. He did one full program on random, unceasing, low-level scattered violence. You have to understand rules, because that is the weapon through which they are killing us. It is a sophisticated war. And if our response is so primitive, so juvenile, we are not going to survive this. We have to be as suave, as sophisticated, as articulate and smart, as intelligent, even more than them. So the bottleneck happens in what you are saying, that Hindus should resist this. that we have a pathetic leadership. In fact, I should not even call it pathetic. There is no leadership. Hindus are quite leaderless today. The only leaders we have are the ragtag mavericks like me or Pushpendra ji or Sanjay Dikshit, very haphazard, I'm a middle class person, I'm a surgeon, I have my family to run, I have my every month installments to meet, I have the agenda of every average Hindu, and on top of that, I'm also fighting the dharmic war. So it's very difficult because we do not have an organized Hindu leadership, which is a very dangerous thing because uh, the so-called Hindu leadership, our dharmacharyas, our mathadishas, they have all forsaken us. They have ditched us. They take money from us. They do not serve the society back. They don't care about a poor Hindu. They do not speak the truth of Abrahamic religions. They speak lies to us, like Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam and Ekam Satvipram Bahuda Vadanti. So the only option is Hindus like you and me unite our hands and we erect a middle class resistance. And the key will be the funding. For that, I have started Dharmansh Foundation. Keep in touch with me. The Dharmansh Foundation is a non-profit company. We need 100 crore rupees monthly funding so that we have dedicated war rooms. You want to fight about, say, you want to fight love jihad. How will you do that? What platform do you have? What mechanism do you have except venting it out on the WhatsApp university? None. I created the platform for Pakistani Hindus. Where is the platform for Bangladeshi Hindus? Where is the platform for Sri Lankan Hindus? Do you know how Sri Lankan Hindus are being killed? You don't even know. Where is the platform for Burmese Hindus who were kicked out by Rohingyas? Do you know 75,000 of Hindus are living like refugees in Bharat? So we cannot do this, on a case-to-case basis. There has to be a central institutional response, which people like me and a lot of guys, you will find out when you visit the website of Dharmansh Foundation. Very nice, very committed people are there. Join us. Give 100 rupees of Dharmansh every month. I don't think that's a huge amount. If 1 crore Hindus give us 100 rupees per month, that comes to be. Convince your parents, Baba. Convince your friends. Convince your colleagues. Convince your neighbors that, look, give 100 rupees to Dharmansh Foundation. Then, once we have those funds, then suppose Vinayak wants to fight conversions. Then he can contact Dharmansh Foundation. We direct him to this cell doing work against conversions, and then you can help it out there. Otherwise, you can just keep venting out your anger and your frustration. Nothing is going to help because we are up against very well-oiled, well-funded mafias who are out to finish us. It's a war of our survival. Somebody asked me, how do we convince fellow Hindus? Tell them that demographically, how we have been reduced from 88 to 78%, how we have been reduced to 2.5% from 15% in Pakistan and to 7% from 35% in Bangladesh. So if we want to survive the next 10 years, Dharmansh Foundation is the platform. If anybody is very motivated by the whole issue of Pakistani Hindus, they can always join Nimit Ekam. Nimit Ekam is dedicated to Pakistani Hindus and Dalit empowerment. So that's the only way, Vinayak. The middle class Hindus have to come up because our dharmacharyas, our mathadishas, I don't abuse them anymore. I want to abuse them because they have. You see, I'm a surgeon, right? I'm an ENT surgeon. What is my worth if I'm unable to cure a tumor in the ear or the tumor in the nose? Why should the society respect me as a doctor? What is my value? My value is only as long as I am able to give that service to the society, which invested so much on my education. I was educated in a government medical college. The fee was 10 rupees per year. But because it was heavily subsidized by the society. And what do I give you back? I give you back nothing. I rob you of your money. I take lakhs of rupees for one surgery. I botch it up. I kill the patient. What respect will you have for me? That is the respect I have for these dharmacharyas and mathadishas. I don't want to abuse them because people's sensitivities get hurt. But I think they have failed us. They have stabbed us in the eye by speaking lies. Instead of speaking the truth of Abrahamic faiths, they are telling Hindus like us, oh, why are you awakening them? Why are you confronting them? No, 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 let's not fight. Let's surrender. Let's capitulate. So, very difficult days, very dangerous days, but there is hope because youngsters are rising, because there is internet. Lies cannot be propagated anymore. So, sorry for this long answer, but it had to cover a lot because your question was very generic. So, I had to give a generic response to that. Thank you.
The recent bizarre statement was from the RSS head, Mohan Bhagwat.
It's shameful. It's abjectly shameful. Although RSS is my mother, let me tell you, I come from the RSS culture. I still consider RSS is one of the most beautiful experiments conducted on human togetherness. But if the leader is compromised, then any movement can be destroyed. And nothing is more glaringly obvious than the story of Mewad Maharanas that I always profess about. As soon as Maharana Sanga was poisoned and murdered by Babur in 1527, the entire Rajput confederation was splintered. The Jaipur Rajputs would never have gone with Akbar if there was a strong Mewad suzerainty. So leadership is everything. So a beautiful organization of even like RSS, which is I call an organization of lions, is being led by sheep, by jokers who have no idea of the threat. How on earth can you say that my DNA is the same with a person who picks up a 10-year-old child and rapes him for an entire day? I contest it. Shame on you for saying this. Don't put me in the category of a rapist. I'm sorry. It's all. You see, an army, Napoleon said that, an army of, give me an army of sheep led by a lion. I'll give you victory. You give me an army of lions led by sheep, we will lose. So all these statements coming out of the ekam satyapram bahuda vadanti. अरे भाई अगर इस्लाम सत्य है तो फिर बंद करो दुकानें यार, कलमा पढ़ो बाबा, सब मुसलमान बन जाओ। फिर प्रताप का गुणगान क्यों करते हो यार? छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज की फोटो के आगे नाके क्यों रगड़ते हो? What were they resisting? क्या कहा था छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज ने मरते समय, याद है आप लोगों को? मैं बताता हूं, आम्ही जातो, मराठी में बताता हूं, आमचा काल झाला, मैं जाता हूं, मेरा काल आ गया है, तुम्ही सप्त सिंधू यवनांच्या हातून मुक्त करा, तुम सातों नदियों को इन यवनों के हाथों से मुक्त करना, हिंदवी स्वराज्य आना, हिंदुओं का स्वराज्य आना ही पड़ेगा, चुकूर हो नका, इस लक्ष्य में कोई चूक नहीं हो जाए। दिमाग खराब था छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज का, पागल कुत्ते ने काटा था उनको जो हिंदवी स्वराज्य की बात कर रहे थे, क्योंकि इन तथाकथित हिंदू नेताओं के हिसाब से तो एकम सत्यप्रम बहुधा वदंती, इस्लाम सत्य है, तो फिर जलाओ ना इन तस्वीरों को यार, भगवान छत्रपति शिवाजी महाराज और महाराणा प्रताप को, क्यों इनको सर पे ढोते हो? छोड़ो यार। No, you cannot stand for lies. Sanatan Dharma is truth, a truth which is open to examination, which is open to questioning. I challenge every Hindu, every non-Hindu to challenge the values of Sanatan Dharma. It stood test of time. It is the only way mankind can survive. And definitely these mafias, these monotheistic Abrahamic mafias, are no solution to the problems of this world. We don't want to impose our way of life on them, but we will not let them impose their way of life on us also. That's not going to happen. We're not going to allow that to happen.
Sir, Riddhi has raised her hand.
Good evening, sir. Sir,
Namaste.
you have read extensively, Namaste, sir. You've read extensively the Hindu texts and you've been researching. So, I'm interested to know what, according to you, has been the source of this hostility which has been fostered in the minds of Islamists against all non-Islamic religions. Is it is it their sacred text? Is it or is it the interpretation of the followers of the faith?
No. You read Quran. It's chapter 9, verse 5. Google it right now. Google Quran 9.5 right now and tell me what does it say. Let us seal this debate right here so that you don't ask this question again. And you understand what I'm trying to say. Who's the child? Deepti.
Sir, Riddhi. Sir, can you please repeat the verse?
Chapter
Verse
9,
number.
9.5. Quran 9.5. Google it. Read it aloud so everybody hears.
Sir, can I read it?
Yeah, please. Anybody who has opened it.
So, but once the sacred months have passed, kill polytheists who violated their treaties wherever you find them, capture them, besiege them, and lie in wait for them on every way. But if they repent, perform prayers, and pay alms tax, then set them free. Indeed, Allah is forgiving, most merciful.
To photographs. I need to talk to a human being. If it's okay with you. I mean, I need to deal with live people, right? So is I'm Dipali here, the girl who asked, who's.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So बेटा आप समझ में आया आपको, मैंने आपको जो ये वर्स खोला
Yeah.
है,
Yes, sir. It's quite direct.
तो इस तरह के आप कभी आप टच में आए मेरे से विनायक के थ्रू, अपन एक अलग ग्रुप बना लेते हैं, अपन किरोड़ी कॉलेज का कुछ भी बना लो, एक सनातनियों का कुछ भी ग्रुप. मैं यू सी what Taliban has banned music in Afghanistan. It is mandated in Islam. जो तालिबान कर रहा है वो गलत नहीं है. गलत वो हरामजादे हैं जो बोलते हैं कि इस्लाम ये नहीं है. इस्लाम यही है. आप मेरी बात समझ रही हैं?
Yes, sir.
It is written in hadith. I can send you the entire hadith. You know, Islamic jurisprudence is number one, Quran, that's the word of God. Number two, hadith, what Mr. Muhammad said. Number three is Sirat, what is Muhammad's life. These three make the jurisprudence of Islam, right? So there is hadith where it is Mr. Muhammad is saying that anybody who listens to music, उसके कानों में उसके मरने के बाद शीशा उड़ेला जाएगा और उसको दोज़ख नरक दिया जाएगा. Who are these people? The 70% of Bollywood music industry is controlled by Muslims. Because they could make good. अब लड़कियां बैठी मैं क्या बोलूं? They make good money out of this. But what is the Islamic law? The Islamic law is that music is not allowed for a true moment. What interpretation? ये सब मिराज हम हिंदू अपने लिए पैदा करते हैं, कायर, नपुंसक, डरपोक हिंदू, ताकि हमको इस माफिया से लड़ना ना पड़े। हम कहें नहीं नहीं नहीं, सारे के सारे ऐसे थोड़ी हैं, इनमें से कुछ ऐसे हैं, बाकी तो अपने जैसे ही हैं, सब अपनी तरह लॉलीपॉप खाते हैं, संडे को, सैटरडे संडे को बॉलीवुड की पिक्चर देखने जाते हैं, पिकनिक मनाते हैं, बिकॉज हम वी डोंट वांट टू फेस द ट्रुथ। कोरोना वायरस सबको थोड़ी मारता है, कोरोना वायरस सिर्फ ब्लड ग्रुप ए वालों को अटैक करेगा। इफ somebody creates this lie for himself, he has a right to create that lie, but it is a lie, right? And lies
Right,
have consequences. Remember, lies have consequences. If as a surgeon, a patient comes to me and asks me, यार ओमी बॉस, मेरे को ना एक शादी में जाना है बॉस, मैं मास्क नहीं पहनना चाहता यार, बाकी कोरोना वोरोना होता है क्या? And I say, यार, give me 1 lakh rupees and I'll tell you the truth. He gives me 1 lakh rupees and I wink at him कि यार कोई कोरोना वोरोना नहीं होता, तो मर जा तो बिना मास्क के जा आराम से. What will happen? He'll get the infection and he will die. He will pay the consequence of my lie. So stop listening to your dharmacharyas, to your religious leadership, to your political leadership, to your social leaderships. They are first class liars. I challenge any of them to come and confront me on any platform. They are liars. Publicly, I refrain from speaking about these mafias because my work is very specifically cut out. I'm fighting for Pakistani Hindus and I'm fighting for bringing the true Indian Hindu history into the foreground. That is my work. I don't usually talk on public platforms about the Islamic law and the Christian theology. But if it comes to that, if push comes to shove, if anybody wants to confront me, I can call the bluff right away. And for that matter, even you can. भाई आप चावल की बोरी में से 2 चावल निकाल के देख लेते हो ना, चावल कैसे हैं, या पूरी बोरी खोल के देखते हो आप? कि हम तो पूरे चावल बिखेर के देखेंगे कितने अच्छे चावल हैं. You take a sample. मैंने आपको sample दे दिया है. There is a verse in this book which promotes incest. Incest. Mr. Muhammad married his son's wife. I can send you the relevant verse. There are 3 or 4 verses which promote rape. Which God in his right mind promotes rape of his girls, his children, believer or non-believer? I'm a hard Hindu. I'm a nutcase Hindu. I'm as hard a nutcase Hindu that you can ever find in your life. And I can never advocate any harm to a Muslim child. I would rather die. I would rather die than to harm any child, be it of any faith. That is my dharma. Here you have a book which tells that you can rape kafir women. I would rather die than to touch a woman without her will wrongly. And I'm a very romantic person. You can read my poetry. It's not, I have all the respect and I got so much love in my life. But to look at a woman in wrong way, your eyes should be gouged out. That's Sanatan Dharma. That's the real fight that we are fighting. A woman is like a flower. A girl child is like a tender rose. Entire society should protect that rose because that rose is life itself. A society which cannot protect its girl child deserves to be exterminated. Ruthlessly. Totally. So next time, just quote chapter 9 verse 5 when somebody talks of coexistence.
Thank you, sir.
I had a personal experience to share if I am allowed to.
Yeah, sure. I mean, be brief in your experience
Yes, sir.
your experience can be boring for me. My experience can be boring for you.
Sure,
Let us
sir.
talk facts.
Sure, sir. With the changes that have been notified by the government regarding historical studies, so
Yes.
in my case, some of my professors as well as my classmates, I would not name them, they were expressing their discontentment and unhappiness regarding the fact that they would be that the juniors after us would be now reading about Shivaji, Maharana Pratap, and other valorous Hindu kings, and they were feeling sad that they would not be able to read about Akbar and all those Mughals and sultans.
I mean, you should just ask them one thing. Do these jokers know that Akbar slaughtered 40,000 Hindus in one day? 25th February 1568, the third Saka of Chittor. Google it right now. Google it so you don't forget it. The third Saka, Saka, the third Jauhar, Jauhar of Chittor. 40,000 civilians killed in one day. These were not combatants. These were not army people. These were civilians of Chittor killed by Mr. Great Akbar. So I think, how long have you been going on now? Like, what's the time?
Sir, it's 7:30.
We are past 7:30.
Oh, we have been going on for like 1.5 hours. It's a good
But
time.
sir, it has been very fruitful.
I hope so. Yeah, it has been very engaging with me also. I love to talk to young people because you are so fresh and you are honest. Ramakrishna Paramhans कहते थे, you know who was Ramakrishna Paramhans? The guru of Swami Vivekananda. So he used to say that somebody asked him कि आप बच्चों से इतना बात करना क्यों पसंद करते हैं? तो he said कि बच्चे जो है ना वो मिट्टी की हंडिया होते हैं, उनके अंदर एक खुशबू होती है. बड़े जो है वो लहसुन की हंडिया होते हैं, कितना भी धो लो बदबू रहती है. So I love talking to young minds because young minds have an honesty, a purity, a freshness about them, which appeals to my chitta. I also start feeling young when I'm with youngsters. You see, that's the whole thing. So great talking to you guys. Let's form a group. Let's interact there regularly. I'll share the SOPs for young Hindus on the internet. How should you conduct yourself? There are certain do's and don'ts. For example, I always tell young Hindus, never mock a death. Never mock a death. You will never find on my Twitter line that I would mock a death. Even if it's Sayyid Gilani, just keep quiet. Death is a mystery, respect it. Never abuse a woman. Never fight with a woman. Just back off. If a lady is insulting, abusive, just back off. Don't do anything. It's okay. Um, be very articulate, be very thorough with your facts. That I've already repeated. There are a 10, 12 SOP which I wrote about last year, and we can share that. And you can follow me on Twitter, follow me on my Facebook. I'm saturated. Come to me on my page on Facebook rather than the account. I post insights about Sanatan Dharma and what we can do every single day. I post insights. You should follow it. You subscribe to my YouTube channel, Dr. Ratnu, DRRATNU. I don't have very viewers, but then my hands are full. I already have so many projects running. I'm about to launch a production house to make a movie on Maharana Pratap. It will be a movie that will change the discourse of this nation. People will see what Pratap, who Pratap was. We have no idea of the greatness of that man. We have no idea of the sacrifices that Mahapurush endured just that Hindu Dharma can survive in this subcontinent. Yeah, there is a movie, Prabhas. I think Kajal Trivedi has already made a very nice movie on love jihad.
Yes, sir, there is one.
Yeah, so you can share the link with him. Should we call it a day or there are more questions? Kapil has raised his hand.
Kapil has raised his hand. Shall I read it out for you?
Yeah, please.
So Kapil has meant to ask, so what do you attribute the reason behind the lack of knowledge of our scriptures among the youth? They know more about Harry Potter than any Quran. That's a very good question and very relevant to the present.
Yeah, it's a good question, but I think it boils down to individual taste. When I was 11-year-old when I finished reading Ramcharitmanas. My parents never forced me. It was just my own interest. By the age of 18, I had finished reading Swami Vivekananda. By 30, I was done with Osho and Jiddu Krishnamurti. By 40, I was done with Acharya Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi. And then I got down to activism. The point is, your heart will always gravitate, it will take you to what you inherently want to do. So scriptural knowledge can be, boring. So I have no particular insistence on scriptures except the Bhagavad Gita. Young Hindus must read the Bhagavad Gita. Before Bhagavad Gita, they should also know something about Sankhya. So I am running classes on Sankhya. So all of you are most welcome to join. I have a small 7-minute video on Sankhya. I've tried to explain it because once you understand Sankhya, Gita will become legible to you. Watch Harry Potter, boss. Watch all these Spider-Man. No harm in that. Be contemporary, but read the Bhagavad Gita. Don't. I would not really suggest people to go deeply into scriptures, Manusmriti, and Puranas. I mean, if you have a tilt for that, by all means go for it, but they are not needed for Sanatan Dharmas. We are right now involved in a war of survival on which ground activity makes all the difference. Scriptural validation for your thought process has a very limited role. You can always access it. All the scriptures are available on the internet. Read the Bhagavad Gita. There is no need to go beyond the Bhagavad Gita. Of course, if you're inclined, if you are really interested, then you can read Jiddu Krishnamurti, you can read Bhagavan Ramana Maharshi, you can listen to beautiful audio cassettes by Acharya Rajneesh, you can listen to Sri Aurobindo's books. These are all matter of one's individual taste, but they are not a prerequisite for the survival of Sanatan Dharma. In fact, too much intellectualizing is going to make you immobile. You will go into this whole personal quest of what is the point of your personal salvation if 3 daughters are being kidnapped every single day? Why did I get into activism? I could have lived on the laurels life has given me. I have made enough money for myself. I could have gone to Rishikesh and sit down in my meditation. But my Atma never allowed me. If there is so much pain around me, what is the point of my personal salvation? I'll end this up with Bhagavan Buddha's example. Do you know when Buddha was done his kartavya karma, his body was dissolved. He went. The story goes like this: he goes to the swargas, and when he's about to enter, the all the devaduts come to receive him and say कि आपका स्वागत है स्वर्ग में आइए. And Buddha says, what about the rest of the mankind? And they say they will come when their karmas are nivritta. They have to suffer. Buddha sat down on the gate of heaven. He's known as the Amitabh Buddha. He's known as the Amitabh Buddha. He said, I'm not entering heaven till the last man crosses this gate. That is the real might of Bhagavan. That is Bhagavan Tattva. So invoke that Bhagavan Tattva, a little bit of scriptures, and you have to start working on the ground. Start giving dharmansh, give 100 rupees a month to organizations like us, Agniveer, Indie Collective, Hindu Fighters. Fund them. No army was able to fight without money. So that's all. That's the long and short of it. Scriptures, yes. Too much detail, no. Unless you are very inclined to go into that, and Mimamsa and Uttar Mimamsa and Advaita Advait and Vishishtadvait and all that. It's a bent of mind which very few people can relate to that. Are we done with the questions?
Yes, sir, I think we are done with the questions, and it has really been a very fruitful session.
Thank you very much. Jai Shri Ram.
Jai Shri Ram, sir.
Work on ground, give dharmansh, And when
Sure,
somebody
sir.
questions you about the Islamic jurisprudence and Islamic laws, just quote verse 9.5. Jai Siya Ram.